Pro-life conservatives are obsessed with the fetus from conception to 9 months. After that, they don't want to know about you. They don't want to hear from you. No, nothing. No neonatal care, no daycare, no Head Start, no school lunch, no food stamps, no welfare, no nothing. If you're pre-born, you're fine. If you're preschool, you're f***ed. Conservatives don't give a shit about you until you reach military age. Then they think you are just fine, just what they've been looking for. Conservatives want live babies so they can raise them to be dead soldiers. Pro-life. These people aren't pro-life, they're killing doctors. What kind of pro-life is that? What, they'll do anything they can to save a fetus, but if it grows up to be a doctor, they just might have to kill it? They're not pro-life. You know what they are? They're anti-woman. Simple as it gets. Anti-woman. They don't like them. They don't like women. They believe a woman's primary role is to function as a broodmare for the state.
That George Carlin bit is about as old as Mary Santora.
That's who that was. I didn't put my finger on it. I was like, is this Tim Allen? Who is this?
Tim Allen. Yeah. Judd Apatow's George Carlin documentary is finally going to drop, by the way. I think it's called George Carlin's American Dream.
Yeah, I saw that on Instagram, and I was like, ooh, I got to tell Alan about this, and it was you that had shared the post.
There
so
you go.
I think you know.
I do know, yeah. 20th and 21st of this month over 2 nights on HBO. A draft opinion on Roe versus Wade was leaked from the Supreme Court of the United States that showed their plans to overturn Roe versus Wade. It is not final. They are being very, very clear that it is not final. The leak itself, the only people I see freaking out about the leak itself are like, Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, but they're not wrong. The leak itself is really bad news for things like judicial independence. That's a whole other ball of wax, but the content of what's probably going to happen is worse.
Does that ball of wax have a heartbeat?
You got to get rid of that ball of wax before 6 weeks. Because about half the states in the union right now have been licking their chops getting these trigger laws ready. So that when this eventually happens, half these states, 24 of them, including Ohio, will immediately kick these laws that effectively will outlaw abortion or make it so difficult to get one that will effectively outlaw it. Supreme Court has said, this should be up to the states. But if the Republicans win Congress back in the fall, they want to make it federal law. There are 16 states that have codified abortion rights into law. Your usual suspects: California, New York, Illinois. Colorado just became the 16th state to do it. So there are going to be states in which the onus on pregnant women is not going to be as much as it's going to be in a lot of other states. Yes. And, abortion stays, by the way, because Roe versus Wade was 1973. It's not even 50 years, almost. But it stays pretty much the same over time, whether it's legal or whether it's illegal. What changes is how many women die from it. The Supreme Court, based on this draft opinion, seems to give less than a wet crap about how many women might die.
Wet grumpy, please.
A half a wet grumpy from how many women will potentially die from it.
I think when they're like, it should be up to the state. And I'm like, have you seen how the states handled things the last couple of years? Like with COVID, we couldn't get mask mandates in order. You think that each state should be in charge of something serious?
With but states' rights has been a long time. I mean, states' rights is something that is not, it's not something that should be taken lightly.
I understand that.
It's just that there are a lot of states that are going to make it impossible for women to listen. The bottom line is the last 3 justices, they all lied, by the way, because in their confirmation hearings, they were asked about Roe versus Wade because these are very conservative, right? So Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, the 3 that Trump got to put in there, they all lied. They all said This is settled law. We would defer to the precedent, blah, blah, blah. They all lied. And so it's not a matter of people go, well, it'll just be the way it was before Roe versus Wade, but it won't be. Because there's all these things they want to do now. It's not just going to be a matter of abortion is illegal. It's going to be states prosecuting pregnant women. Because like when abortion was illegal before the early 70s, it was mostly the doctors that were on the hook for criminal charges if doctors got caught. You know, there were plenty of doctors. They were like, I don't want women in alleys with coat hangers, right? So it was the doctors that were on the hook. If this goes the way these people want it to go, you're going what? They're going to put pregnant women in prison? Or, you know, they want to outlaw contraception eventually. So you're going to get thrown in jail for taking birth control?
I just don't understand how that can happen.
This can all happen, and it's not going to stop with abortion, by the way. People who go, well, I'm not a teenage girl. They've made it very, very clear that they're wobbly on a lot of things now. They're wobbly on same-sex marriage. You've read these articles. It ain't going to stop with abortion. They're going to go back, and they're going to go, same-sex marriage, right to contraception. It ain't going to stop with abortion. So abortion might not affect you. But if they go, we want gays back in the closet. We want it to go back to the way it was a long time ago. And they're very clearly trying to do that. So the old thing about, like, keep government out of my lives, that's long gone, man. That's long gone.
This is the Freedom Party, correct?
Not anymore.
Party of personal responsibility.
Not anymore.
All that stuff? Yeah.
Nope.
Makes me sick.
They're banning books. No, come on.
But I do want to know how something like that could leak, and like, is that a plant? Because that does scare me. Because there's other things that might be on the, I guess, left-leaning, the Democratic side.
Well, people assume it was some left-leaning clerk.
But it could be. It probably was.
It could be, but it could also be somebody on the conservative side who leaked it too.
Why would they do that?
Because they want it out there, and they want people to think that this is, if they leak it on the conservative side and they say, hey, this is something that might happen, that's going to fire people up to ensure that it does.
Okay.
Like the same reason you would think a left person would do it so that people would get angry and make it not happen, it would instill that same type of fire under someone who severely wants it to happen.
Yeah, but I feel like the releasing it, if you want it to happen, you're literally, there's no value in doing that because it probably will happen. And the more secretive, these people are operating in secret in the first place. So there's no point.
Who are operating in secret?
Well, I'm just saying there's a level of confidentiality when you're dealing with the Supreme Court.
There is supposed to be, yes.
And there are already...
The leak is not good news.
Yeah, the justices were already planning to vote that way. That was what the whole draft was for. So there's no point in someone on the right leaking it because they're probably going to move forward with the agenda. They don't want to put out their agenda.
Well,
they pass laws and then do it.
I think the theory that it might be somebody on the conservative side who would leak it is that when this finally comes to pass, people will have kind of girded their loins for it. You know, pro-choice groups have been preparing for this for a long time. Here's Frank Zappa in 1986, the late Frank Zappa in 1986.
Our families are under attack from people like you with these lyrics.
John, you don't have to buy them.
Could I make a statement
Sure.
about national defense?
Yeah.
The biggest threat to America today is not communism. It's moving America toward a fascist theocracy. And everything that's happened during the Reagan administration is steering us right down that pipe.
Oh, Mr. Zappa, do you really think with the permissiveness that we are moving toward a fascist theocracy, anything goes?
That was the big line in the 80s as conservatives. Oh, there's too much permissiveness, which was code for, we don't like all this stuff that's going down. We're playing the long game. And it is. It is Republicans who want to turn the country into a theocracy, a white nationalist theocracy. Because there is no pain, by the way, that evangelicals won't pretend to suffer more than anyone else. So they've got this idea in their heads that they're victims of persecution in this country. White Christians believe they are victims of persecution. Somehow, right? Forget that the United States is the most religious first world country on the planet. Forget that religious hate crimes are overwhelmingly against Jewish people and Muslim people. But somehow, these people go, blip, it's us.
We're targeted.
We're targeted. It's everybody's coming for us. And make no mistake, they are a distinct minority in this country. That's why there's a desperation here. Completely unconcerned with how staggeringly unpopular the policies are, right? 70% of people across the board will say they're in favor of Roe versus Wade. So, liberty, liberty, unless it's uteruses and penises and gay men and things like that.
And for the past 2 years, what have the most hypocritical thing that all the anti-mask mandate people have been saying and all the anti-vax people have been saying is, my body, my rights.
Okay, but here's what you need to think of from a Republican, not even Republican, conservative, whatever standpoint.
Evangelical.
Sure, evangelical. It is not your body as a woman. This is a fetus. It's its own body. You're making decisions on behalf of another living, breathing being. That's their standpoint.
It's not breathing yet.
But that's their standpoint. This is a living
I understand
human,
that.
so it's not your body to choose.
But there's still
That's their
privacy.
argument.
There's still privacy decisions. It was all, listen, rich women were always able to get abortions, right? So if this goes the way they want it to go, obviously the problems will fall to poor women, single moms,
Women without things
people,
like insurance.
women of color, whatever, right? Check off all the boxes.
Well, that's why so many people are unconcerned, because they're like, we'll be able to take care of it if we need to, because we have the money and the means to do it.
How would rich people get abortions if
Rich people can get whatever they want. Money gives you access.
But I understand it gives you access. You could pay for an abortion, but if it's against the law, how would they do that?
They were doing it before Roe versus Wade. They
I'm
were
asking
doing
how.
You find a doctor and say, I want to get rid of this.
On the DL?
Huh?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Like off the books?
There weren't doctors advertising illegal abortions,
Okay.
$59.99. I mean,
Okay. So it's just off
That's
the
why
books.
if you read this leaked thing, it's the opinion that they've got is really, really strange in the 21st century. Because they basically dismiss the idea that forced childbirth is a burden. They go, the medical costs are covered by insurance. And after the baby's born, just drop off the baby anonymously and they won't have any problem finding that baby a suitable home. Those are quotes from this it's not a decision yet, but from this draft. Obviously, all of that is flatly disproven by decades of history. But that's where they're coming from. You just drop the baby off if you don't want it. So you know how people love to adopt babies just dropped off at firehouses. So, so it's not a matter of stopping history. It's about erasing progress. That's why I'm saying it ain't going to stop with abortion. You're not going to be able to get married, Poundcake.
Who was the guy that said...
That's fine. Matter of fact, take away marriage from
And
the
by
people
the
that
way,
already had it.
but that's the weird thing, too. Gay marriage isn't even controversial anymore. As far as most voters go, they go, yeah, okay.
I don't care.
It might not
care who gets married.
But even if people who are against it are over it now.
Yeah.
That ain't enough for these people. They're like, nope, hell bent on rolling back the hands of time.
Nope, take their happiness away. Take it away. If I can't be happy, no one's going to be happy.
And again, Poundcake, if he don't want to get married, it didn't bother him.
No, it doesn't matter. I mean, depends.
Amazon has come out already and said that they will pay for abortion travel to other states for employees.
Yeah, but 1 day
ahead,
or 2 day
Elon.
shipping.
Overnight.
They get that overnight.
If you got Prime.
Yeah. Prime will get you the 2-day scraping.
Mm-hmm.
And
Alexa, schedule my abortion, please.
yeah, right. So it's not over till it's over,
What's hard for me...
but it's probably over.
Oh, yeah. What's hard for me is coming from a very right-wing Christian family and having a lot of family members who still feel that way. What's hard for me is that
Just
they...
stop loving them.
No, they genuinely think they are doing the right thing. They genuinely think that they're helping people because they are so rooted in this belief of heaven and following the rules and
Yes.
making sure you do what God wants you to do, that we talk about brainwash, they really do believe by doing things like this, they are helping society.
I'm not saying that those people are doing it in bad faith.
But that's what's hard, is that I'm like, how can you? It's so difficult to argue with them because they are so convinced that they're doing the right thing.
Well,
But also,
that's my family too.
But part and parcel of any organized religion, or the bulk of them, evangelicals to be sure, is imposing your will on other people.
But
that's not even controversial.
Part of it.
Right.
Like,
Right,
part
but
of
that's-
it is
but that's where
going out
they-
and converting people.
But that's the thing. You have to make it that person's choice to be converted.
It's like, hey, here's all the information.
Yeah, if you say, hey, here's everything, then and they want to join, that's fine. If you don't want to get an abortion, that's fine. If that's what you believe, that's fine. But stop taking your religious beliefs and forcing them on other people.
And I agree. I agree
that's
100%.
And that's what I always have to remind my parents of, and my family that's still conservative. I'm like, this is not about. It's about separation of church and state, and you guys throw that out the window when it comes to certain things, and other times it's really important, and I'm just sick of it.
Well,
Because
but separation
it's hypocritical and it's dangerous.
But separation of church and state, and I know what people, and again, I'm all for it, but that does mean something very specific. Separation of church and state just means that the state cannot establish a religion. That's why there's a lot of, these groups that sue public schools. They go, why can't we pray in school? And people go, separation of church and state. And they go, that's not what it is. Because it's not. Separation of church and state just means the state cannot establish a religion. Now, you could vote for pro-choice candidates this fall, but this is clearly a Supreme Court that would also side with members of Congress who want to throw out election results. So I don't know what you do. And again, it's not over till it's over. They've made it very, very clear. That's why they're all pissed. They go, this is a draft, but it's very clear this is what they want to do. Because they say, hey, it's not in the Constitution. And again, the last three, well, not Ketanji Brown Jackson, but the three justices that Trump appointed all lied about what they were going to do when faced with something like this. They knew what they were going to do, and they lied about it. That's why these people, Susan Collins is the one that's being singled out now. She's from Maine. And when the Kavanaugh hearings were happening, I've talked to him. He said he thinks Roe, nothing's going to happen. This woman's got egg all over her face now. She's just perplexed at how this could have happened. She's bamboozled at this. And it's not like women all think one way.
No.
White evangelical women think exactly like white evangelical men.
But this isn't just evangelical. I mean, this
It is largely evangelicals.
right, but this is conservatives as a whole. This is one of the
Not as a
huge.
whole.
No.
This is one of the huge debates. I feel like
It's largely, there are,
most right-leaning people that I know are pro-life.
yes, but they're not, let's roll back the clock to 1950. They might say, I believe abortion is murder, or I'm pro-life, right? There are a lot of people who believe that. But they also don't have a problem with kids learning history in school. They don't have a problem with gay people getting married, There are a lot of good faith arguments that people of conscience have about abortion. What they're talking about here is this nonsense about it's got to be part of our nation's history for it to be codified into law. Like, oh, really? Because if you go back far enough, one very specific group of people had all the rights.
Here's where it is. And I'm not defending this at all. I want to be very clear on my point is having people very close to me who are in support of this and think it's a good idea. How do you convince someone who truly believes abortion is murder by legalizing it? You're essentially legalizing murder. How do you convince them otherwise? That's what it comes down to. I feel
Ask them
like,
how many kids are willing to adopt.
Yeah, but also you
Walk the
can't.
walk.
I can't do
can't.
that to my parents, but that's
because
why.
they believe
but that's
it
why.
so hard.
Right, but that's why I'm
And it
sick
sucks
of them,
but
and
these
I don't
people are
listen to them.
They're in a position of power. I'm not talking about our parents.
Right, but I'm talking about these. But the people in the position of power, they don't believe it's that. They are actually just using it as a way to, like, I believe a lot of the politicians that are trying to get this taken away, they don't believe that abortion is murder, because they would get one in a minute if they had to cover up something, because they're just trying to play to a base to make sure they can get votes.
Bottom line is, you cannot, as much as you try, and as difficult as it might be in the interim, you can't stop progress. You can't. You can claw and scream and do whatever they're going to do. You can't stop progress. And so, listen, I know people are going to march and they're going to chant because it makes them feel like they're doing something when they're not. But I guess you should have voted for different people a while back, shouldn't you?
Yeah.
Instead of worrying about emails.
Abortions for all. Very well. No abortions for anyone. Abortions for some. Miniature American flags for others.
Of course, that's Bob Dole when he was running for president some years ago. Okay, I want to move on. But if you're on hold, I'll get you on the way back. If you want to text 35192, another $1,000. Last chance for you to grab that money today is coming up at 5:30. And I'll have passes after this break for the Outlaw Festival coming to Blossom in July. Willie Nelson, ZZ Top, and some other bands too. So that's all coming up.